Okay, so today we did quadratic inequalities. And so quadratic inequality is a quadratic equation, but instead of equals, we have an inequality such as less than, greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than equal to. So one of the ones we did was something like right, so we did x squared minus x plus 12, or minus 12, excuse me. Minus 12 is greater than or equal to 0. Right, so the way we can solve this is we want to factor it like we usually would, and instead of using this, let's just say it's equal to 0 for now. Right, so we can do, so x squared minus x minus 12 factors to x minus 4, x plus 3. And so, right, we just solve this as if we're solving for the x-intercept and when x equals 0. So then we would get x equals 4 and x equals -3. Right, these would be our x-intercepts if we were just doing equals 0, but because we're doing the inequality, we have to go another step. So we can do, what we want to do is we want to find the boundaries in which this statement is true. This x squared minus x minus 12 is greater than or equal to 0. We want to find when that's true. So we can create a number line, and we plot our points, x equals 4, x equals -3. And then, so then now we test each boundary. So we have to test this area, we have to test this area, and then we test that area. So once we've tested each area, each boundary, then we can decide where this statement is true. And the first thing we always want to do is we want to look at the sign. So this is greater than or equal to 0, correct? So then, because it has the equal sign, that means that point has to be included, which means this x-intercept is real, right? X equals 4, this would exist. X equals -3. So therefore, we can put a closed circle just so we remember that that point is included. And we'll see why later on in the answer. Okay. Now, we test the boundaries. We plug it back into our equation. So if we want to test the boundary from -3 to -infinity, we plug in any number in that range. So let's say -4. So if we plug in -4 into this, x minus 4, x plus 3 is, we can take this, we can take that now, the greater than or equal to 0. So if we plug in -4, we get -8 times -1. That is 8. And 8 is, and then 8 is greater than or equal to 0. And so that is a true statement. So this is a true statement. So that means that any number passed from -infinity to -3 would fit this statement, right? And so then we can test another number inside of here. So in between -3 and 4. So the easiest number to take there is always 0. So if we were to plug in 0 into our equation, we'd get 0 squared minus 0 minus 12 is greater than or equal to 0. So that would get us to -12 is greater than or equal to 0, which is not true, right? So that does not work. So because we tested that one point inside of there, that means the entire thing does not work. All the numbers inside there does not work. So now we can test from 4 to infinity, right? So let's pick 5, right? So if we pick 5, then 5, so this is 5 minus 4 times 5 plus 3. So, right, that's going to be 1 times 8. So we get 8. So 8 is greater than or equal to 0. Right, so that means this also works. So now when we are writing our answer, right, so we know that anything from negative infinity to negative 3 works, including 3, right? That's why we have the greater than or equal sign, because that's including that it works. And then from 4 to infinity. So, right, negative infinity is always parentheses, negative infinity. Then we put a comma. And then to that point, the first point, negative 3. And because we're including negative 3, we put a bracket, right? So anytime it's including that number, we put a bracket. If it's not, we put a parentheses. So let's say that this was let's say we had is greater than 0. That means instead of a closed circle, this would be an open circle. Therefore, this would be a parentheses if that was the case. But so back to our problem. So negative infinity to negative 3 bracket, right? You always want to be able to tell the difference. Parentheses, bracket. And then because there's 2, we always put a U for union. Union, then another bracket, because 4 has a closed circle, greater than or equal 0. So 4, comma, infinity, parentheses. All right, so that would be our answer. Okay, thank you.